Good afternoon. How are you guys doing? Good? Woo! Yeah, I'm rock and roll, right? My name's Daniel Kim, and this is Ryan James, our CMO, and we're here to tell you about the future of transportation. Last night, I was talking to someone, and they basically said the way to win TechCrunch Disrupt is you have to make an app. So last night,
Did I forget to say anything?
we made an app.
No, you're perfect.
Get to the app.
That was like,
Aha! So this is our Lit Motors app, and if you press it, basically it tells you the charge of C1. So right now it's 100%. Thank you. Let's go back to the presentation.
is my mic still? I think my mic's still here.
Okay, but seriously, we all know that transportation is a huge problem. And it goes from anywhere from like personal annoyances like driving through traffic or finding a parking spot to major issues like environmental destruction and war. So it's a problem that we have to solve. And many people are working on the solution in the United States. Solutions look a lot like this. And unfortunately, these take forever to get to market. They're incredibly expensive to develop. They're expensive to purchase. They're not actually that efficient. And they have limited range. In the developing world, solutions look like this. Unfortunately, they're unsafe. They're difficult to drive. They have limited utility. And they're really impractical in the rain. Not to mention that they also pollute. So we really need a new solution. And what we need to develop is something with a small profile and the quick-to-market deployment of a motorcycle. It has to have the safety of a car. It has to be versatile for on- and off-road driving conditions, all kinds of weather. It has to be easy to drive, so there's no learning curve. It also has to be affordable. And it needs efficiency that's never, ever been seen before. So we took the last 14 months and $750,000 to design the future. And we took the best of both worlds. We made an efficient, incredibly romantic motorcycle, but with the safety and the comfort of a car. So I know what you're thinking. This is pretty cool. I'd like to introduce to you the C1, our new prototype. This is it from the side perspective. It's beautiful, right? This is it from the front. It's only 40 inches wide, so you can lane split and take the HOV lane. Here's it from above. It's incredibly aerodynamic. Oh, and here is the interior. So it has all the controls that you know and expect: steering wheel, gas, brake pedal. And we designed all the safety features of a car, like airbags, seat belts, steel-reinforced doors, and also a roll cage. And it's road legal, because you're basically riding in your helmet. So no helmet is necessary. So it's a fully electric platform, and that's pretty common, right? But we're using off-the-shelf battery technology, and because it is so light, it gets 200 miles per charge, and that's on 1/4 the battery pack size of a Nissan Leaf. In fact, we use a lot less parts than any traditional car, and a traditional car has somewhere around 24,000 parts or more. We're using only 1/10 of that number. So what this means is it's incredibly easy to manufacture. It's inexpensive. And there's low maintenance. So I know what you're thinking. Yeah, really cool. This sounds like it's perfect. But I'm never going to learn to balance this thing. Well, we've solved that. So the Lit Motors C1 is the first self-balancing, fully electric motorcycle when we have 15 patents on this technology. we use 2 gyroscopes, the same gyros that are in the Hubble Space Telescope. But we've brought them down to the consumer level so you can have safety and an accessible motorcycle that's incredibly efficient and affordable and safe. So we've tested this because that's what we do at our R&D lab. And we've proven that it's impossible to knock this over, especially if you try to do a drag pull with a 4,000-pound truck. And when you're driving and you come to a stoplight, it just stays upright. You defy gravity. So there are 15 patents in total that have been filed for. And, you're saying, this is pretty cool. But, awesome technology isn't the only thing that you need to start a vehicle company. So how are we going to do it? Well, I have a history in building cars. That's what I do. And we have an amazing team backed by the most stellar advisory board. And, we've already built one. Come on back, Ellie. It's okay. There we go. Yeah, come on forward. Yeah. So the future looks pretty good. Anyone can drive it. And we're making a safe version, and we've done this prototype on only $750,000. So, but I know you guys love it, right? We've got to love this. This is like the future, right? But let me tell you, what I'm really excited about. And it's my dream of planning and delivering to you this vehicle in 2014. So this is the plan that I made 3 years ago. It's an engineering development plan. So now, after 3 years of dreaming about coming up with a real, credible plan, we've refined it.
You gotta wrap it up, please. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. And we've brought down to a weekly schedule, weekly interviews, subsystem by subsystem, backed by a real bill of materials. This is how you start a real vehicle company. And we're going to deliver this to you in 2014 with 200 miles per charge, 100-mile-an-hour top speed, and that charge only costs you $1. 2014 for $19,000, and we believe we can get this to scale for only $10,000 in 2017. So my name is Daniel Kim, and this is Lit Motors, the future of transportation. Thank you.
Judges, what do you guys think?
So one of my favorite shows is Top Gear. When do you think this will be test-driven on a Top Gear episode?
Next year, maybe? We'll see.
Need to knock off.
You reach out to them, see if they're willing to test drive it for you.
Okay, we can do that. Yeah.
We're fans of the show.
On a more serious note, what do you think is going to be the cost to get to market? So I heard that you're going to get out in 2014. But how much capital do you need? You know, the knock on hardware companies in general and some of the other vehicle companies that have been around is that it's required enormous amounts of capital for them to get to market or get to profitability. So how much is left? I mean, it's wonderful what you've accomplished with $750,000,
Yes.
but how much more do you need?
Eric Eldon, the judge goes,
I think we can get to market for just around maybe $50 million. We can be
5-0 or 1?
5-0.
5-0.
And that would be at least a production run of around 10, scaling up to 1,000 pretty quickly. Once you have the engineering documentation for the manufacturing, it's just a file that you give to an outsourced manufacturer. And we would do final assembly here, in the city or in Fremont.
So if the self-balancing works, why are there those gigantic kickstands?
Oh yeah,
inside there?
that's a great question. This is our landing gear for when you're in park mode.
Okay.
And the gyros aren't spinning at all times, only when you're driving. But these gyros can basically store 1 kilowatt hour, so you can pull energy off the grid when it's parked at your house, spin it up, and then drive out, not with just 8 kilowatt hours, which is our battery pack now, but you can drive out with 9.
But then that's also the last safety backup. So
Yeah.
even if the entire vehicle shuts off, an entire electrical failure of the whole thing, default mode for the landing gear is down. So even if the entire thing goes to hell, you stay up.
Which is basically impossible because the gyro motors and the precession motors all have redundancy, which is like the Segway. One of our advisors, Jeff Finkelstein, commercialized the Segway. And so we're using a lot of that architecture, which is a standard in aviation, to actually make it sure that it's impossible for this vehicle to actually fall over.
So first of all, congratulations. I mean, the story, the presentation, the design are all beautiful and well done.
Thank you.
It's
Thank you.
great.
Thank you.
You mentioned earlier the bill of materials. Can you talk about that a little bit in terms
Yes.
of what they'll be initially
Yes.
and how
You
they'll
bet.
scale over time?
Yeah, so this is actually a real unibody chassis that we built by hand. It's made with AKDQ. It's the same sheet metal that they use in Detroit. And we basically built all the components. They're all basically real. And we had 5 engineers actually create a catalog and do the accounting for all the components. So we're at 2,239 parts. And we have a price, we have the vendors, we have the vendor's part number, we're creating our own internal SKU, and we're actually developing our prototypes in this fashion.
Have you thought about doing what Tesla did and taking? I think they took pre-orders, right? And you paid, or
We're taking them right now.
And funding. You said you need $50 million. Why don't you just raise that from, people who want to, buy this?
Yeah. I think over the course of Disrupt, we now have over 200 pre-orders, averaging $500 each.
Oh, but your end price is how much?
$24,000.
Okay, and you think asking people for $24,000 right now
And
is
they've
a
all
bit of a
signed up.
stretch?
Yep.
But you can't get the 24 from them right now. You think that's a stretch?
We haven't
have
asked
it-
for it yet.
I'd say ask for it. Yeah.
Maybe
There are
we'll-
people out there on this stage that would happily throw $24,000 down to have one of the first one of these, I would think.
Yeah, we'd love to have you.
How are you planning to take this to developing countries? I mean, the price point is way too high right now. There's going to be a lot of, just general adoption issues, I assume, with people wanting to switch from their cars or whatever they're using in wealthier countries. How do you see this really being a mass market?
You want to answer this? I can do this.
As far as international expansion, starting here in California and expanding to other major metro areas in the rest of the U.S., scaling up such that we can start to produce those cheaply here. Then we can, for the next phase, export 1,000 of those over to our next target market, in most likely somewhere in Europe, and start over there. Sell those 1,000 again at the elevated $24,000 price. Begin production there, scale up, reduce the price there, move on.
And so you think this is going to be the sort of utility vehicle where you can carry a lot of, water, like
Yeah.
food supplies,
Yeah.
like a lot of...
Absolutely. There's actually a pickup truck version that we're developing for like China and India. But once we need to basically stabilize our business and our revenue stream before we go into those markets. So we only need 0.1% of each varying market in the developed world to have a $2 billion company.
I'll just jump in and say it's a big problem, and it's great that you're working on it, and you've done a nice job. You've referenced that this is one of the different versions, and you have the pickup truck version. How many different versions are you developing? When you actually go to market, how similar do you think it will be to the vehicle that you're showing today?
I think we can have some pretty short product life cycles over 2 years. And so if we have 2 products or maybe 3, we have a convertible version that we're thinking about. Plus a sedan version, which is basically this one. This will be a 2-seater, and then we have the pickup truck version. I mean, it's a motorcycle with all the same basic characteristics of a 4-wheeled platform. So any 4-wheeled platform variant, we can actually integrate into our product portfolio.
So is there any market research or testing you can do to find out if this is a driving experience that people are willing to that could become mainstream? I mean, most of the contestants here are just creating websites. You can just throw the spaghetti against the wall, see what sticks. This requires a lot of capital. How do you really know? And it seems like, unlike maybe a Tesla, which is, it's a great car, but it's not changing the way people kind of drive. This is actually like a whole new driving experience. How do you know that this can be mainstream?
We did a qualitative research clinic in-house, and we brought in 50 people. 15% of those people actually put money down on a pre-order. 15%, and they hit 2 demographics of aging motorcyclists and also young entry-level, urban hip car buyer. So those cover our 2 varying markets here in the United States. It's at 15% of the adoption rate. We do a lot to de-risk the market because we know it's a lot of money. We realize this, and I think there's a huge hole that's been dug. And my hat's off actually to Elon, because what Tesla did for making batteries more accessible was huge for us and anyone. So our team took a lot of time to really think about how can we de-risk something so big with very little money. And I think that's why we've had such great such support and press.
Why did you go battery? Was it because of price? Was it performance, or because it's cooler, or what's sort of the motivation?
I mean, battery technology makes a lot of sense on a 2-wheeled platform that's incredibly aerodynamic efficient and mechanically efficient. From an oil standpoint, from an economic standpoint, I think it makes a lot more sense. It's also a lot more ecological. My sister actually works as a UN peacekeeper in Sudan, so she's on the front of water resources, which is being affected by global warming, and so I'm on the other side. It's kind of a hereditary thing,
Right. I mean, but just to push on, just to kind of connect that to the price discussion. If you're targeting this to the developing world, they're much less likely to want to pay a premium for being green than, say, the buyers in the U.S. who are buying the Tesla Roadster. So, are you raising the price of this by making it battery powered? Would gas be cheaper, a standard old-fashioned gas motor?
We do have, so our patents actually do cover a hybrid, but we do need the electricity to actually power the front wheel, which is our regen, and that gets dumped into our gyros. On top of that, in developing worlds, there are 13 million millionaires in China right now, all at the average age of 38. And so we believe, we only need, a couple 100,000 out of 13 million to really have a real market in China. On top of that, the speeds in China also are a lot lower than they are here in the United States. It's the same as in India. Their top speed may be around 35 miles an hour, depending on which province you're in. So that requires less of a battery pack because you don't have to hit those highway speeds.
Unfortunately, we're out of time. But can we get a quick show of hands from the judges? How many of you would put down, what was it, $24,000 for the pre-order?
Jason, you can ask that, but could you ask the crowd too? I want to see just.
Oh yeah. All right.
How many people would seriously consider buying one of these?
Wow. Okay.
Pretty good. Woo! Awesome. Thank you. Right. That's Lit Motors, everyone. Good job, you guys.